This is a response to Karceno's video that I watched a little bit earlier today. In his video, he was talking about uh, Rocky Marciano and how he feels Rocky is rated among heavyweights. And I agree with a lot of what Karceno said in his video. There's a couple things I'd like to comment on, however. Karceno stated that he thinks that it's really stupid for people to make comparisons between heavyweights and welterweights, and I agree with that. I did. I think it may have been 2 years ago now. I did make a video entitled Rocky Marciano's. I think it was titled Rocky Marciano's resume is better than Floyd Mayweather's. Um, and the reason why I remember doing that video is because I was responding to people, uh, probably a lot of people that are in Carceno's comment section now, people that subscribe to Karceno. They themselves kept making comparisons between Floyd Mayweather and Rocky Marciano. In fact, they still do it now. Always comparing the 49-0 for Floyd against Rocky's and saying that, as a matter of fact, Selma herself, in your comment section, made I think had a comment saying that Floyd has beaten, what was it, 23 world champions or something like that, and Rocky only 7. Never mind that there are a lot more titles out there now, a lot more weight divisions, but, you know, that's another story. But there's just a couple of things that I disagree with Karceno on regarding Rocky Marciano. Number one, I think people have to take into account that Rocky really had a he had a very late start, actually not relative at all. He had a very late start to his professional career. All right, he served in the army, um, and he boxed. Uh, I don't think he went. I think he went amateur. He started off as an amateur boxer. I think sometime around 1945 or so. All right, and then he had that one professional bout. I think that was in 1946, and he went back to becoming an amateur. And Rocky didn't become a full-time professional fighter until 1948, when he was already 25 years old. So, if you think about it, this is a guy who didn't really start professionally consistently until he was 25 years old. And he got a world title shot within 3.5 years, which shows you, like Mike Tyson, in this comparison I'll make with Mike Tyson, the sheer work, hard work, and busyness as a fighter that he displayed during those years. All right, he really fought. Now you could say he fought some mediocre opponents earlier on, just like any fighter. Mike Tyson did as well. He fought inferior competition at first before he stepped up. But Rocky was very, very raw when he first started. This is a guy, from remember my readings, he could not throw. The only punch he had was his right. He had horrible footwork, and he was still smoking. He stopped smoking, I think, sometime around 1947 or so, like that. This is a guy who didn't have wind. He was initially, he would get tired. And this sounds ridiculous. We're talking about Rocky Marciano, but he used to get tired. He had to stop smoking, and then when he stopped smoking, and he got that toxins out of his system, and he lived a completely more Spartan lifestyle at the time, at least when he was boxing, at least. Um, he became known for his almost superhuman stamina, and also before 1948, you got to take into account that Rocky was not totally committed to boxing. This is a guy who still had dreams of being a baseball player. This is 1930s. He grew up. He was born in 1923, so he grew up probably. He grew up in what was it, Brockton, Massachusetts. So this is a guy who grew up during the era with Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig, and, and at that time Joe DiMaggio, you know, Hank Greenberg, the Tigers, all right, Ted Williams. All right, baseball was number one, so baseball was a dream of his. And it wasn't until he got cut by the Chicago Cubs, I think it was in 1946, I think, on the farm team, that he really switched his focus totally to boxing. So if you take into account what Rocky did was very impressive. He did not have the early start that a lot of fighters did. He didn't start like Ali did when he was 12 years old or as a teenager or as a kid. Right? He started as a grown man, and for that, it's commendable. Earlier on, Rocky was able to use his power to defeat his opponents. And then as he went on in his career, he used a couple of things. He not only used his power, especially in later rounds when a lot of his opponents were starting to finally fade. Um, he used his incredible stamina, and I also think a lot of people don't use it because they tend to use it more for defensive fighters or technical fighters. With sluggers, you never hear people talk about ring IQ or the intelligence of a fighter. Rocky had probably one of the highest IQs of any fighter, heavyweight fighter, really any fighter we've seen. All right. Yes, Rocky knew that his style of fighting would not let him last too long. He knew that. Getting hit a lot, as often as he fought. Rocky Marciano was very paranoid about becoming punch drunk. He did not want to become one of those guys. And when he felt himself starting to slip a little bit, when he fought Archie Moore, that's when he knew that it was time to hang him up. And at the time, Rocky was only, 32 years old? So, my thing is, you have to take everything into account with Rocky. Now, one thing I don't agree with Karceno is I don't think that Rolling the Stars that came out of nowhere and gave Rocky a great fight in 1950. You have to remember that both fighters were undefeated at that time. As a matter of fact, Lestar's record was more impressive because he had fought more fights at the time. Lestar's was 37-0. Lestar's, to me, you can make some comparisons a little bit to, well, no, I can't make that comparison. That wouldn't be a fair comparison. But Roland Starza was an exceptionally talented fighter who underperformed, in the sense that, from what I've read about Starza, his handlers protected him too much, and they didn't want to risk him losing fights. So that's why if you look at Lestar's record, it's not very impressive when you look at the resume as far as opponents. His record is impressive, but his opponents are impressive, except for the fact that he fought Rocky Marciano a couple of times and a couple other fighters, noble fighters. The first fight was very close, from what I've read. It was very, very close. Lestarza was a hometown boy in the first fight. So many people were actually, most of the crowd was rooting for Lestarza. And so therefore, that's why a lot of people felt Lestarza won the fight. Some people felt that Rocky won the fight. Also, there were certain things that I remember reading too. This fight, Rocky was not himself, psychologically or physically. When I say physically, I mean the way he fought. Rocky had recently seriously hurt someone in the ring. Seriously hurt someone to the point where they almost died. And Rocky actually came out in this bout, from what I remember reading, and he was fighting like, he was trying to be technical. He was using the jab and not fighting like himself, and he quickly fell behind. And Rocky did score a knockout in that first bout, and the knockout seemed to be the deciding factor in that bout. Now, in the second bout, um, Lastarza, I think, came out pretty strong, and I think he held an early lead, but Marciano's just his sheer fighting style and by sheer attrition, it added up, and Rolling the Stars slowly began to falter, and he was knocked out, I think, in the 10th or 11th round of the second fight. But the Stars was not a bump, all right. Joe Louis once said that he thought Rolling the Stars was, at the time now, this is early 50s, he thought that La Starza may be the only fighter in the heavyweight division that could beat Rocky Marciano. And, you know, that's just how I feel about Rolling La Starza and Rocky Marciano. Now, this is the big one where I disagree with Karceno, and some people may disagree with me on this one. Now, when you come to the question of whether Rocky Marciano can defeat Muhammad Ali, all of this is just pure speculation and conjecture. We don't know, all right? But this is what I feel, all right? If you're talking about early to mid late 60s Muhammad Ali, Cassius Clay / Muhammad Ali, I don't think Rocky beats him. That version of Ali, people weren't laying the glove on this guy. All right, I don't think Rocky beats this guy. I just don't really see it. Now, if you're talking about latter Muhammad Ali, especially post 1972 and on Muhammad Ali, because I still see Muhammad Ali as between 1970 and 72 as still being pretty close to his prime. He started becoming a lot more stationary, I think, around 1973, especially 74 on. Not stationary, but how can I say this? Semi-stationary as a fighter, Muhammad Ali. I don't think that rope-a-dope style would work very well against Rocky Marciano. Because at that time, people were touching Muhammad Ali. Now, Ali did have a hell of a chin. I'll give him that. And Rocky had a hell of a chin. Rocky only went down twice in his career. Once, I think, against Archie Moore, the last fight of his career, and once against Walcott. And then both times he got up, I think, within 2 to 3 seconds. And so Muhammad Ali and Rocky Marciano had great chance. Now, this is what bothers me and why I think Rocky possibly could give the older Muhammad Ali problems. Rocky would throw punches all over you, all over your body. All right. This is one of the hardest hitting heavyweight fighters of all time. All right. Rocky broke blood vessels. All right. He reportedly sometimes even chipped bones. He was a bone breaker. He broke jaws. He broke noses. All right. Like I said, he nearly killed a man. Even Muhammad Ali stated when he fought in that computerized super bout in 1969, just a few weeks before Rocky Marciano perished in the plane crash, he was surprised at how hard Rocky Marciano hit. Harder than Frazier. And this was an out of shape 45-year-old, soon to be, or would have been soon to be 46-year-old Rocky Marciano. Now we're talking about a late 20s, early 30s in age for Rocky Marciano. Rocky, when people would go up into defensive covers, Rocky would hit their arms. He would hit their arms. He would do that strategically because he felt that over the period of course of a fight, that person would begin to tire. That person would get tired of having their arms being battered. He broke blood vessels. He chipped bones. He broke bones, and that's what I think he would do to Muhammad Ali over time. I think that he could beat Muhammad Ali. I disagree. I think the older version of Muhammad Ali, I think that he could beat him. Now, I'm not just telling you I think he could beat him. I'm giving you reasons why. All right? He hit harder than Joe Frazier. But he hit a lot harder than Joe Frazier, actually. And Joe Frazier beat Muhammad Ali. So there's no reason why I don't think that the slugger, swarmer, brawler, Marciano couldn't have uh, some success against Muhammad Ali. All right. Um, this is also a guy who trained to fight 20 plus rounds. So in the Thriller in Manila, Rocky would probably have had more stamina than Muhammad Ali did at that time. So I think that Rocky Marciano sometimes doesn't give his just due. I think people tend to see that black and white film and they tend to think old, antiquated, dilapidated. You know, it's not something you can compare to today. You know, it's not HD quality. You know, this is old. You know, uh, this is, you know, this isn't, you know, this isn't something I can respect. You know, this guy, yeah, he was okay, but fill in the blank would destroy this guy. And I tell you, a lot of people, virtually all of his contemporaries, had nothing but the utmost respect for Rocky Marciano. And I can't really think of any people who had anything bad to say about him as a person or as a fighter. So, in conclusion, those are my opinions on that. And I also like to say, you know, when it comes to comparing fighters or athletes, I agree that it is stupid to compare a heavyweight to a welterweight. Like I also think it's stupid to compare a small forward and a shooting guard. We have totally different playing styles. As I'm talking about LeBron James and Michael Jordan. So those are my opinions on that one, and I hope you enjoy listening.